Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our free webinars every Saturday. At napakaganda ng topic po natin ngayon dahil isa po ito sa topic na malapit talaga sa aking puso. And this afternoon, we're going to discuss about gamification in HR. Naku, alam ko na marami sa inyo ang nagtatanong, paano nga ba namin po pwedeng i-apply ang gamification sa HR? Maraming ways po na po pwede niyo po i-apply ang gamification sa HR. So bago ko po ipakilala sa inyo ang ating speaker for today, let me just share something with you na sa tingin ko naman talaga ay makakatulong ng malaki sa understanding natin ng gamification. So ang guest actually natin is someone coming from Gamitize, and Gamitize is one of the leading platforms when it comes to gamification, at ang ating speaker po ay isa po sa mga tinitingala naman talaga na pangalan pagdating po sa gamification. So before we begin with our webinar for today, I'd like to go through some of the things that we have to understand when it comes to gamification, when it comes to Gamitize. Ano ba tong platforms na to? Ano ba yung mga kailangan nating matutunan tungkol dito? Si Gamification is a platform na kung saan pwede kayong mag-register at pwede kayong maggawa ng account para kayo po ay magamit nyo yung gaming principles sa iba't ibang areas ng inyong work as an HR. Okay? Ito pong Gamification is currently being headed by Keith Nang. Actually, siya yung ating magiging speaker for today. He describes himself as a compulsive gamer, reformed compulsive gamer. Naku, malapit po ito sa ating puso dahil syempre ako galing din naman ako sa gaming industry, galing tayo sa game loft. So talagang malapit naman sa puso ko anything na may kinalaman sa gamification. He's also a self-trained game designer. Started off with gamified prediction markets, sports, politics, then gamified dating site, then gamified social network. At ngayon naman pag-uusapan natin ay kung paano natin isasama yung mga gaming principles na to pagdating kay HR. Isa din po sa mga nakatulong sa atin para gawing posible itong ating presentation for today is Prapim Chutaprotikorn. I hope I pronounced it right. She's trained as a graphic designer, stumbled into instructional design, used to teach art to children and adults, and loves Photoshop, Illustrator, and cats. Ayan. Alam ko maraming nanonood ngayon na mahilig din sa mga pusa, kaya naman talagang makaka-relate kayo sa mga usapan this afternoon. Game plan for today, ano ba yung mga pag-uusapan? We will be delving into gamification, design and motivation principles, case study on employee engagement, 5D gamification framework, debrief, and Q&A. Ako, proponent ako ng gamification, pero ang dami ko pa rin hindi pa alam pagdating sa gamification. Kaya naman excited ako for this afternoon. So how are we going to maximize this session? Please feel free to ask questions at the end of each section. As soon as meron po kayong question, lagay po kaagad sa ating comment section para ma-address po natin yan. Let us know at any time if you're lost or you need us to slow down. Again, please make use of the comment section for that. We have team members currently monitoring all of the comment sections. So if ever meron po kayong questions, we'll be sure to catch that. And if ever you need us to slow down, we'll do just that. This will not be a fun session, but keep an open and creative mind, relax, and we will do our best to make it enjoyable. This is what gamification is all about. So if you have any questions, even after this program, you can search for Gamitize in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you tag our speaker for today using @Gamitize. Okay? Ilalagay din po namin sa comment section yung atin pong iba't ibang ways on how you can contact them. Okay? So, isa po sa mga reminders ng para sa ating presentation today, nobody likes working. Learning is boring, but playing, everyone loves playing, which is true. Diba? Sabi ko nga last time when I did a talk on role of gamification in HR, lahat tayo, regardless of what age you are in, when we look back, ang pinakamasayang moment natin is nung naglalaro tayo. At pag naglalaro tayo, naaalala natin yan, natatandaan natin yan. So, ito yung, kaya yung mga gaming principles talaga, iba talaga, tumatatak talaga siya pag ginamit natin siya in areas of HR. Now, gamification is the use of game design and game psychology in non-game settings in order to engage and motivate target audience for target behaviors. Keep in mind that it is a process and not an endpoint. Okay? So yan po yung mga kailangan nating tandaan today. So is this gamification or not? We will delve into that later with our speaker. So i-discuss po niya if ito bang mga ito ay gamification or hindi. At kung ito man ay gamification, paano po ito naging gamification? At ano ang difference ng gameful design, gamification at ng serious gaming. Magkakaiba po yan. Although lahat po yan ay gumagamit ng mga game principles, iba-iba po ang um, meaning yung mga yan. May mga pagkakaiba-iba po yan. Pero this afternoon, ang pag-aaralan po natin is more on the gamification at kung ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng gamification. Okay? So itong mga to po, I'll just quickly run through them kasi itong mga to ay i-discuss po ng ating speaker for this afternoon. Okay? So ayan. Ito po ay para lang po magkaroon kayo ng idea ng kung ano ba yung mga pag-aaralan natin this afternoon at ano ba yung kailangan nating mga at ano ba yung mga madidiscuss natin. So medyo mahaba-haba po ito. Okay? So wait lang. Okay. Okay. So itong mga to this afternoon po ay i-discuss po natin yan. Okay? At ngayon po, ayan, ready na po ang ating speaker. So akin pong ipapakilala na siya. Sa totoo lang po, kinakabahan ako sa pagpapakilala sa kanya. Paminsan-minsan lang po tayo makakuha ng speaker na sobrang kilala sa kanilang field. At higit sa lahat, ay mauubos na naman ang English ko. So this afternoon, we have the co-founder of Gametize. And this is actually something that's very exciting for me because the Gametize is one of the leading platforms when it comes to gamification. Our co-founder has started Gametize with his best friend Damon with Jaja. I hope I pronounced that correctly, and later Brenda Nicoltan. It's a gamification platform which aims to motivate behaviors through challenges and rewards, such as in recruitment, learning and development, marketing, and community advocacy. Gametize actually won a funding in reality TV show Angel's Gate. It also won the People's Vote in IBM's ASEAN Bootcamp in 2013 and SBR's 2015 20 hottest startups in Singapore. Today, the platform is powering fund for more than 300,000 users, totaling over 15 million, ganun kalaki, 15 million challenge completions. The speaker for today was nominated as one of the most influential people in gamification globally by the Gamification Summit held in 2014. He is also one of the top 100 gamification innovator and consultant by Sparka. He was the one who designed Gametize's gamification frameworks and speaks on gamification globally, including Gamification Summit in San Francisco. If you attended the HR Congress recently, he was also speaker in that one. He was also in the Loyalty Summit in Mumbai. So his interests are in gaming, in using game thinking, positive psychology in order to solve engagement problems and designing extremely simple user experience for people to get hooked. Motivation theories intrigue him as much as learning about AI and scaling methodologies. Pero hindi po yung buhay niya ay buong gametize lang po. Prior to that, he also sold an MLM software at 18, ganun kabata, before his military drafting. He then completed his BBM in Finance and Bachelor's of Science in Information System on a DFS scholarship in Singapore Management University, ending his final semester on exchange in Catholic University Leuven in Belgium. I hope I did not murder the university's name. Studying arts and the Flemish language. His Richard Bartels player type would be explorer and achiever. So yung mga umattend po dati ng basics of gamification, nabanggit ko po yan, or yung gamification and training, nabanggit ko po si Richard Bartel. We have different player types. So he is more of an explorer and achiever. He leaves for his Tuesday evening futsal games and enjoys Counter-Strike and the Rubik's Cube sometimes, which he struggles immensely with. I think everyone struggles with the Rubik's Cube. I know I do. But I'm not really a Counter-Strike fan. I'm more of Dota 2. He is also passionate about craft beer, and you might catch him beer tending and washing glasses at the beer shop once a week in Chinatown Food Complex. Ladies and gentlemen, Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Keith. But before I bring him to our stage, I would just like to share with you a very quick video on how you can gametize anything. So please watch this. Okay? Ayan. So sa mga interesado po with Gametize, you can actually, we will be posting the links later on, but it's actually a good way for you. It's actually a good way for you to have an idea. Okay? And if you're interested, we'll send the link later po sa aming comment section para po makapag-avail po kayo ng Gametize. We will also be flashing later on the contact details of Gametize. So if ever you're interested, you can get in touch with them directly. And without further ado, I know you've been waiting for this afternoon. I'm very excited to present to you our guest for today. It's none other than Mr. Keith Nang, the co-founder of Gametize. Hi,
Hi,
Keith.
Rona.
Good
How are you?
afternoon. Hi, I'm great. I'm great. I hope you're great too.
Yes, and just want to say a really good early evening to everyone else. And this is me in my office in Singapore right now.
You're so in Singapore. Are you still working from home, or everyone's back to office now?
Everyone is just deciding whatever they want to do. So we did not we do not require our employees to come back to office. So it's completely their choice. But some people just wants to come back here, just to make coffee here, and the rest just prefer to stay. So we have completely left it to their choice.
Okay. So Keith, I'll leave the screen now. I think you can already start with your presentation.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we are good to go, right? So thank you again, Rona, for handing the mic over. And I just want to thank everybody for being here. And I understand there's a risk, there's a storm that's upcoming. I hope everyone stays safe, right? All right, so let's hope that we will be able to uh, finish the presentations, right? And you're able to learn something from here. And I just want to give a disclaimer that this is actually a 200 slides deck. It's meant to be very, very heavy. However, we are going to make it as short as possible for you, right? It's a Saturday after all. So I think Rona has flashed this slide. The reason why I wanted to present this particular slide is so that uh, if you are not able to join in the session, right, you are not able to stay on for the whole session, or you can't interact with us in live, right, you could actually go on to one of these games, right. So this game actually allows you to engage with us. So I'm just going to show you how it looks like and what you can expect in this particular game. So it's a really simple game where you're able to do some simple challenges, answer some simple questions, and you're able to take on some of the questions here, right? And tell us like what you think the answers are. And along the way, you're able to also learn about different things. So these are all questions that will come up in my slides. And we hope that by actually interacting with a gamified solution like that, you're better able to appreciate what is the value of gamification. So I'm just going back to my slides and making it full screen. Right, so if you prefer to use a mobile phone to do that, you just have to download the GameTimes app. But nonetheless, if you don't have a mobile phone or prefers not to use the mobile phone, you can always use this particular link, right, gametimes.com/gamatization101. All right, so at all points of time, right, I would like to suggest that you can always check out cheatsheet.gametimes.com. Rona, if you can type it out in the chat room, that would be great. Now, cheatsheet.gametimes.com have a lot of different demos, videos, resources, right? It's a one-stop hub. Whenever I can't remember anything about game types or gamification, I myself also go there myself, right? So I will encourage you to take a quick look at that. And today's session, right, I've kind of called it Gamatization 101, right? It's meant to be extremely simple and light. And so Rona has already given quite a detailed overview of myself. And Prapim, right, she's not here live in person, but she'll be running through some of those practical videos, right? So at the end of today's session, right, we hope that we will be able to give you some hands-on videos, right, that can help you learn how to create games or gamification campaigns as soon as you're able to sign up an account. And the account is completely free to sign up. So please do not worry about the costing. So like what Rona has mentioned here, right, this is actually a very interactive session, right? And I will try my best to actually look out for the questions, but during times when I'm not able to look out for the questions, right, Rona, please feel free to interject me if you think that's a really good question. Okay, so this will not be the fun session. I always want to qualify that because just because this is a gamification session, right, it's actually a lot more scientific and very systematic, right? It's a very process-driven exercise over here. And at any point of time, if you have any questions, just leave us a question on any social media channels and tag us, right, at Gametimes. All right, so let me just begin off with this particular definition of gamification, right? So in our definition in Gametimes, right, we feel that gamification is the use of game design and game psychology in non-game setting. And the focus should be to engage and motivate your target audience for particular target behaviors. And one of the biggest myths of gamification is that you're just using that to create fun and it ends there. But that is not true at all, right? To me, it is a process to motivate for target behaviors. And how do we get there? So I think the first thing that we want to do is to just provide a lot of examples. What is gamification? So some of you might be familiar with Duolingo, right? If you're familiar with that, just raise a hand in the comments chat. Tell us what language you're learning with this. This is a gamified app that lets you learn about different languages, right? If you're familiar with Star Trek, Klingon is actually one of the languages they are teaching in Duolingo, right? Klingon is a language from an alien planet. And so this is very gamified because they have all the different badges. They make it really fun and interactive for you to get achievements, and they will keep encouraging you, right, with by reminding you that you have met your daily goals. And so Duolingo is a gamified campaign, right? There's no questions about that. And you're able to learn something, learn a new language. I was trying to pick up German some time ago as well, right? So they will actually show you some kind of like a route map that is very visual as well. So it does feel very much like a game, but to be honest, right, it's not as fun as what you can expect in Candy Crush, right? Okay, the second game that I would like to just chat about is this game called Pizza Hero. And so this is a very simple game where you can actually make your own pizzas. And when you make your own pizzas, there are at the end of the session, you will actually be able to um, choose your own ingredients, and you will be able to get the pizza delivered to your house, right? And it's very visual as well. Now, this isn't so much gamification in my opinion. However, right, they have kind of make it really fun, really simple. And what's really interesting about this project is if you've kind of made some really good, interesting pizzas, they will sometimes tell you that we want you, right? They want you to join Domino's. So it's kind of like a gamified recruitment campaign, which I thought was really smart. Now, for the end consumers, this really feels more like I just want to order my pizzas. Okay, so I wonder whether there are any medical students in the house, right? So this is a particular game where you're able to actually learn about the surgical skills. You're able to practice the surgeries on the 3D object. And when you do that, they will tell you how well you're doing. It's a very simulated environment. Now, this is what we call serious gaming. So serious gaming are typically a lot more expensive, right? You know, it can cost up to $1 million just to create one simulation game like that. Because you see, it is meant to be very immersive. It is meant to be very educational, but at the same time, they want you to be in an environment like that. And serious games are typically a lot harder to make changes to as well, because it's not just being content driven. You can see that there's a lot of graphics involved. There's a lot of programming in the back end involved as well. Okay, so at this point of time, it can get a little bit confusing. What are the differences between games, gameful design, serious gaming, and gamification, right? So typically, right, gamifications are what we try to incorporate game-like elements into real-life settings. Serious gaming are more full-blown games. Gameful designs are just really, there's no gameplay at all, right? It's just fun to watch. So this is one example of a gameful design, right? Really, you know, it's just a page where it's a 404 error page. We get that all the time. But over here, rather than just say this is the 404 page, right? They put up the four of the engineers and say, you know, you can decide who to fire, right? But there's no real game here. So it's called gameful design. It's more playful. Well, Uber has moved out from Southeast Asia, but I remember when they were around, right? You're actually able to see that some drivers actually have badges, right? So this is very gamified, and this is very immersive in the real world as well. So there's no actual gameplay. However, the drivers are able to get the different type of achievements and recognition, and they will get some points, of course, as well as a consumer, right? When you keep riding with them. You can see serious gaming here. It has a purpose. It has an end game, and it has actual gameplay as well. Now, if you know what this is, please just type in the comments like what game you know this is, right? I hope everyone knows. So if you still haven't figured out by now, right, this is actually Pokemon Go. Now, Pokemon Go, it is quite debatable whether or not it is gamification or the game, right? Now, my mom is one example of a gamer on Pokemon Go, and she plays that actually just to lose weight. So if you are playing a game just to help you achieve a real life objective, then I would say that is gamification. Now for Niantic Studios, right, the folks who have developed Pokemon Go, right, they certainly designed it to be just a game. It is meant for entertainment, it is meant for fun, and of course to monetize as well, right? So it really depends on your perspectives, right? What you want to use this for. My mom is using this to walk around and to catch Pokemon so that she is able to lose weight. All right, so I just want to just touch on this particular four pillars of gamification before I move on to other topics, right? So in a gamification campaign, you tend to see different interactive challenges, right? You are able to see that there could be quizzes, there could be photo challenges, right? There could be challenges to ask you to purchase certain things. There could be challenges requiring you to walk 10 kilometers today. In a gamification campaign, there tends to be a lot of constant instant feedback. Constant instant feedback comes in the form of points, badges, leaderboard. They can come in the form of progress bar telling you how well you are doing, right? This is the kind of constant instant feedback that actually can motivate people, right? I will be elaborating a little bit more about that. Now, in all gamification campaigns, right, you typically will see competitions, leaderboards, and sometimes social elements as well. When I say social elements, it allows you to collaborate, it allows you to socialize, it allows you to find out how others are doing, and you can vote on them. So one of my favorite gamified social network, actually, to me, is Instagram. You see, it's a very social, gamified application, actually, right? You get points in the form of the number of likes, and you get a lot of constant instant feedback when people say that it's a great photo. And last but not least, most gamification campaigns always have a rewards element, right? And it could come in the form of a reward store. It could come in the form of recognition badges that tells you that you can do something with it. Okay, so I'll just move on to the next slide. Motivation frameworks. Now, so typically, right, there's always this myth that gamification is just about fun, points, badges. But in my opinion, gamification is a lot like it's a motivation and rewards program. End of the day, RAMP, right? Rewards and motivation program. So motivation is actually the hard core and the crux of all our designs. And where do we want to implement gamification in? So these are some of the different types of use cases. They could come in the form of learning and development. They could come in the talent management. So while you're reading this particular slide, I would like you to just type in your comments and tell me what is your biggest interest to use gamification in? Why are you in this talk? And what do you want to implement gamification? Would it be in L&D? Would it be in onboarding? Would it be in talent acquisition, right? If there's something that you don't see over here, right, but you want to implement that anyway, right, please feel free to do so. I have a lot of audience who are parents, and they say that they want to gamify the aspect of their children doing house chores at home, right? And I think that's a great gamification use case as well. Okay, so once you type it in, right, that would be my next slide. So this is a chemical compound that is a very relevant thing to talk about when we talk about motivation. If you know what this is, please just type it out. Right, this is a chemical compound that is being produced in our head. If you know what it is, right, it starts with D. Just make a guess. Okay, so I'm just going to review the answer right now. Right, the answer is dopamine. So dopamine is a chemical compound that actually makes you more motivated to do something, right? You typically get it when you are triggered by a stimulant. So the stimulant can come in the form of maybe, it could be you actually going shopping, and that creates dopamine rush in your head. It could be you going for a cigarette break, smoking break, and that gives you motivation to smoke more, right? So these two are probably not the most like healthy examples, but I personally get dopamine whenever I play football. So when I play my football, right, it makes me motivated. It makes me want to play more of that. Some people get dopamine rush when they are playing the piano, right? So just please type in the comments, right? What makes you have dopamine rush in your head? So for some of my friends, it will be eating dark chocolates, right? That's why they can't stop eating dark chocolates, because once they eat the first piece, right, it creates an addiction. All right, so why is dopamine interesting to us, right? It's because as a HR professional myself, right, I'm always thinking about how can I motivate my fellow teammates to come to work in case they fractured their motivation. And the other reason why we talk about motivations a lot is because there's two aspects of the motivation. That is, one of them is extrinsic motivation. You will be quite familiar with this, and the other one is called intrinsic motivation. And the golden question is, how do we balance these two and make it productive for anyone like yourself to actually create motivation in your campaigns? So one of the favorite theories I like to look at is from this gentleman called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. So it is a Hungarian psychologist, right? He's based in the US, Chicago, and he wrote a book called Flow Theory. And I would strongly recommend you to go check out this book, right? It is available on Amazon's Audible. So it's Audible, it's an audiobook store, right? And this is one of the featured books, audiobooks there. Now, Dr. Mihai is fascinated with trying to understand why do artists get so motivated and get lost in their work. So flow, the flow state is a mode where it's a mode that you will forget about everything else and you're so absorbed into doing something. For example, right, in this example, that would be painting. But I know for some friends, that would be when they are playing the piano. And for someone like Rona, right, that could be just running and facilitating such events, right? She gets a lot of dopamine rush in the head, and that gets her into the flow mode. So Dr. Mihai has stated out three very interesting points, right? What really motivates us? And these are the three things, right? First, you must have a clear set of goals. And second, right, it must have a lot of clear, immediate feedbacks, right? So feedback that comes in the form of points, badges, that is the kind of triggers that can result in a dopamine rush in your head. So it is no surprise that games actually does that very well, right? Whenever they give you the very first point, or they give you the very first achievement unlock, or the very first badge, because they make it so easy to play at first, right? You immediately get hooked in and you want to play more. So that's why you're so motivated to play games whenever you have started with the first stage. All right, so that is my second pop quiz, right, today. So Dr. Mihai also talk about pleasure versus enjoyment, right? So one of these things actually motivates us to want to do more. And it motivates us to want to do more because it makes us grow and develop. So what do you think is actually a more important emotion to create when you design any kind of learning programs or employee engagement program? Do you want to create pleasure or do you want to create enjoyment? So please just type out your answers over here while I go to the next slide. What truly makes you want to do more? What makes us grow and develop? Would that be pleasure or enjoyment, according to Dr. Mihai? The answer is enjoyment. So Dr. Mihai believes that enjoyment is the emotion that you feel that makes you grow and develop, right? The difference between enjoyment and pleasure is very thin, but typically enjoyment makes us feel that we are growing. It makes us want to do more of that. While pleasure is just feeling that you feel whenever maybe your biological needs are being satisfied, right? Say for example, if you're hungry, you eat something, you will be full, and that's a feeling of pleasure, right? But when you play the piano, when you enjoy doing it, it is because you feel like you're getting better at playing the piano. So it is a very, very important emotion. Okay, so I want to get to this like final theory, right, before we get into some practical discussions, right? SAPS, right? This is what I call the SAPS framework, right? These are typically rewards that money cannot buy. And at Game Toys, we always recommend our designers to always think about this kind of rewards. So success or status, right? It is kind of recognition. right? Access is the power for you to go into something or do something that nobody else can do. Power is a certain privilege, and stuff are things that typically, right, money cannot buy. So I'm just going to give you some examples, right? Let's start off with stuff. So at the end of this session, right, and if you have been listening very well and you are answering all the questions correct so far, and you attain the certifications in Gamatized, right, we are going to give you a Gamatized t-shirt. And this Gamatized t-shirt will be something that you cannot purchase anywhere else. So this is some stuff, right, that you cannot purchase. Now, power will be the privilege for you, for example, that you are able to change what is the color of GameTime's logo for one day. You have the ability to take over our Instagram account and do a social media takeover, right? That will be a power reward. Access is a chance for you to maybe come to the GameTime's office, right, and enjoy a cup of coffee that's being made by myself. And success is a form of reward as a recognition, right? So it could come in the form of a feature in a newsletter, or it could come in the form of maybe a recognition where you're able to join a boardroom meeting, but where it's typically only close to the management team. All right, so my suggestion, right, is to always have a mix of different rewards so you can motivate for different purposes. And how can we do that? So what motivates you, right? So I would like you to just type in the comments over here. What kind of SAP rewards can you think of that would be relevant to your employees if they have done very well in their work that money cannot buy? So the idea is to be creative, right? Always think about things that typically will excite people, but they know that this is something that they will feel recognized about as well. So another of my favorite example is a private parking lot, right? And that excites a lot of people a lot of time. Okay, we have spent a lot of time talking about motivation frameworks, but end of the day, right, this is to talk about gamification, right? And why do we look at games, right? This is because we believe that games are very powerful, games are very addictive, and they pull people in. And as a gamification designer myself, right, if you were to put me beside a game designer, we practically have very few things to talk about because they know that what we do very well is we steal the ideas from them and we implement that very well in the real world. So we are more like an Alibaba, right? I'm talking about not Alibaba.com. I'm talking about Alibaba in the fables where we are very good at stealing things and implementing their ideas. So in my opinion, it is the only industry that has mastered user experience. A lot of people like playing games, right? And you realize that they do not give extrinsic motivation at all. You do not earn money by just playing games unless you're an e-sport athlete. So why are they so good at what they are doing? Now, this is my first podcast regarding the age of a video gamer. I've done it in a very long time, right? So I would like you to just type in the comments what you believe is the average age of a video gamer in US in 2019. Would it be 15 years old? Would it be 30 years old? Would it be 25 years old? So just please put in your answer what you believe is the average age of a video gamer in US last year. Okay, we have our answer at 25 coming from Rona. That's a good guess. 35. And I'm just going to show my answer over here, right? So the average age of video gamers in US for women is actually 34 years old. And the average age of male gamers, video gamers in US is actually 32. So this slide actually serves to help answer the question, right? Of many HR and CEOs, are games going to be too young? Are my audience going to be too old for me to implement gamification in my campaigns? And the answer to me is no. You can definitely implement gamification at all age for all demographics as well. Everyone play games, right? And another interesting statistics over here is that 46% of video gamers are actually female, right? So this will and should debunk the myth that a lot of gamers are actually males. In fact, there are actually more female gamers that are older than the male gamers. So a lot of surprising statistics over here. So with that, I'm just going to jump into my case study over here. But I'll just like to see whether there's any questions that I should be taking on. If not, I will just move on. All right, so my very first case study over here is in education and learning and development. And this is actually one of my favorite case studies because it has a storyline of a Ninja Quest, right? It's actually a Japanese company. So this Japanese company came to Game Times a few years back, and they were really interested to know how can they introduce the company's values and principles in a much more fun and engaging way. So one of their problem statements is that it's a very large Japanese company, but this company actually acquires a lot of international companies, and they expand to many Southeast Asia or even Asian countries. And how are they going to introduce the Japanese way and values? And so they came up with this idea called the Ninja Quest by using game types. So the objective is to create a campaign that was more in line with the foundations and to align with and to get everyone to interact with each other during the game itself, to get them to understand the company culture. And not just that, I think one of the biggest problems that I see in a lot of L&D campaigns or learning and training workshops is a lot of you would have gone to a lot of training sessions, but one of the biggest problems is that you can only remember 30%. So that is statistics, right? We can only remember 30% of what we have learned in the live webinar, right? And so one of the challenges of L&D professionals is how can they get their learners to actually practice and prove that they have done something in their daily life. So this is what gamification is very good for. So in this storyline, right, and this is actually quite a immersive one as well, right? You are a ninja, right, and you're able to actually travel around the different cities in the world, right? In this case, you can see that London is one of them. And when you go to the different cities, right, you have to fulfill certain missions. And some of these missions, right, could just be a very simple quiz, right? So you can see that there's this quiz over here. And once you answer those quizzes, right, you will be able to earn certain points. Truth is that a lot of these quizzes may or may not be related to the company's value and mission. So they are very mindful that this becomes too formal and too official. So they try to make it interesting and fun for people to learn things. So you can see that in this particular question, right, you have to find the person in the office that looks like that, and you have to scan the QR code. In some of the examples I've seen, this could be a challenge where you actually have to go up to your manager and try to sell an item to the manager. And if the manager is happy with your sales pitch, you are able to get to scan a QR code that allows you to earn certain points as well. Right, so this is a question about customer satisfaction as well. As you can see, this is a quiz about what is the conflict of interest, right? And you can see that it is designed to look like a game card. Again, this is something that is relatively simple to do, right? It doesn't require a lot of graphics manipulation. So when you have already completed certain questions, what happens is in this particular game, they'll give you a special gem, right? And this special gem gemstone allows you to destroy an enemy called the shadow. And there are some challenges that actually requires you to actually go out and have team lunch, right? So probably not the best challenge to introduce during this pandemic. However, right, hopefully when the pandemic ties over, we can have this kind of challenges. And when they do this kind of photo challenges, the whole team earns points together. There you go. That's a gemstone I was talking to you about, right? This is a badge of recognition and achievement. Remember when I talk about SAPS, this would represent the success kind of reward. Again, in a reward store, right, there are certain points that allows you to redeem certain rewards. Now you might be wondering, what in the world are these rewards over here, right? What exactly is the ninja armor, right? If anyone can guess what the ninja armor, please just type it out. It's actually a jacket. It's actually a company jacket branded by the company, right? And in some other cases, this company also sponsors a basketball team, right? So when anyone redeems the points, they actually get a sponsored basketball jersey. And if you can see the magic potion, that's actually just a can of Coca-Cola, right? So they try to make it interesting and call it a magic potion because they want to tie in the storyline. Okay, so I just want to share with you some statistics, right? This was a very short campaign. I would say about 2 to 3 months. It lasted. It has about 253 players who all played the game without being forced to, right? And this is something that's quite important, right? You want to be able to make the game casual, and with these 253 players, right, the completion rates are extremely high. You can see that it's 84%. And these are some of the testimonials you can see here. And we have actually gathered some analytics, and we have actually looked at some of what we can do better and what are some of the things that we have done very well as well. And I think, end of the day, what we really like about this campaign is that it is not like work at all, right? It feels more like a game. However, the content are all actually work related, and the storylines and everything are very immersive. They're all very consistent. By the way, this game is entirely designed by our client, right? It is not designed by us. They were just simply using our technology. This is why we do what we do. We believe that if we are able to provide a very simple to use technology that everyone can use very easily, right? There is no need for anyone to learn coding to be able to create games. A lot of you are great game designers. You just don't know that. Right? Game design is actually a lot simpler than you think. Okay, so having done the case study, right? I just want to jump really quickly, right? If you're feeling the hunger to learn to want to see what other examples, always go to cheatsheet.gametimes.com. In this particular cheat sheet, right, you will be able to find that there are many different examples of games over here. So we really have a lot of demos and use cases. If you want me to pick one that I really like the most, there is this game called the Charisma game right here. This particular Charisma game is mobile responsive as well. I'm just going to show you how it looks like when it's mobile responsive. In this particular game, you're supposed to do challenges like compliment someone today and make small talk. Sometimes you have to actually prove that by taking the photo. And when you do all these challenges, you're actually able to earn points and share on the newsfeed like that. I'm able to vote on them. And when I vote on them, they get an additional point. So the idea of this game called Charisma game is that when I have completed all the different topics, I will be able to unlock all the different keys, and I will be truly charismatic after that. Now, this is another example of a storyline, right? A very storyline approach. And in this case, the narrative over here is that you are actually collecting the different keys. Now, this is one of the kind of gamification campaigns I like to implement, right? You're actually learning something when you don't realize that. You're actually learning by actually doing something. And I think that is actually the best way to learn anything at all. And truth be told, even though this game is called the Charisma game, I would say this is more like a sales training game. But they don't call it a sales training game, right? Otherwise, it sounds too formal and sounds too official. All right, I'll go back to this particular deck over here. Make it full screen. I'm just checking out the comments over here to see whether there's any questions. All right, so creating a gamification campaign is actually not just about creativity, right? That's one of the biggest myths and misconception. The very first step to creating a gamification campaign would be to first think about the problem statement, right? So the earlier you are able to think about the problem statement, right, the easier it is to create a game, because the game cannot be designed just for fun. You have to create a game to solve a problem, right? No matter how small the problem is. For example, in this case, our talent acquisition process is expensive. The next thing to do is to decide what are your KPIs. Now, don't worry that you can't achieve this KPI, but you need to start thinking about what are some of the success metrics. The third step is that you have to consider what are the type of target behaviors and emotions, because end of the day, you should be treating your target audience here like they are customers. They're just like humans, right? Whether or not they are employees or they are customers or they are gamers, they are all humans. So think really hard what kind of emotions you want this person to be saying when they are playing your game. For example, if this is a game for you to implement compliance training, one target emotion would be, wow, this company is interesting because they implement compliance training in a much fun and interesting way. I would like to learn more about what the company does, right? The other target emotion would be, I feel recognized and I feel a sense of belonging to this company after going through the game. So when you are able to identify the target emotions, then it makes it a lot easier to think about what kind of rewards, what kind of storyline, what kind of narrative, what kind of language, and what kind of team, right, are you going to implement? You will also want to think about what type of game mechanics. For example, would this be a very competitive game, or would this be the game where teams are all collaborating with one another? And to help you do your game storming, it is really good for you to think hard about the persona of the user, right? Typically, I would recommend about 2 or 3 different personas. And when you think about the personas, you have to think about the players type here, right? So these are the 4 different player types that I would like you to think about. It's based on a gentleman called Richard Butter, right? And killers are typically competitive, right? They're engaged by leaderboards, ranking. Achievers are motivated by getting recognized, right? Not necessarily based on competitions, but they want to be recognized with certificates. I think there's a lot of achievers in our session today. I've seen some people looking to get certificates over here. Now, socializers are people who play because they just want to be part of a community. So that would be the example of my mom. She will play games. Sometimes she's a Candy Crusher level 253, by the way, right? She's a very advanced Candy Crusher. But she plays that because all her friends are playing as well, right? She will send a lot of jewels, a lot of requests on Facebook, right? In comparison, by the way, I'm a Candy Crush level 1, right? I couldn't even get past level 1. And the last one is the explorers. So explorers are individuals that are interested to learn really interesting aspects of their career. They're interested to discover content that a lot of other people probably wouldn't be interested in, right? I mentioned that I'm an explorer because I'm interested in playing the Rubik's Cube. For example, not many people like the Rubik's Cube. And I would like to be able to learn about all the different craft beers in the world, right? So that is what motivates me. Okay, the reason why I put up this slide is I would like you to now put in the comments chat, what type of gamers do you think you are? Are you a killer? Are you an achiever? Are you a socializer, or are you an explorer? So take a moment to think about this question. What kind of player types do you think you are? I see that Rona says that she is a killer. She's competitive. She's out to kill all the competitions of her webinars. Typically, killers are also achievers as well. So there's often an overlap. Okay, we have an explorer coming through. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. Once you have decided what type of player type you are, the next question I have for you is, which one over here do you believe is the biggest group of players? Do you believe that do you believe that there are more killers than anyone else in the world when you play games? Or do you believe that there are more achievers, explorers, or socializers? Which group do you believe is the biggest players? Okay, so one of the biggest myths that I've noticed is that a lot of my audience often believe that killers are the most competitive players, and thus they should be the biggest group, right? The answer is that killers is actually just 1%. Socializers, on the other hand, represents 80% of player types. So what this means from the get-go is that you should always create socializing type of games, right? Games that allows people to collaborate, even if it's a team competition, right? It allows users to socialize as well. So always try to implement socializing aspects into your gamification campaign. Now, of course, we have achievers that will be about 10%, and we have explorers that's about 10%. Now, killers nonetheless are very important groups of users, right? Game studios always design games for killers because they represent 80% of the revenue. Now, likewise, in your gamification campaign, sometimes the killers are the most important groups of players. They could be the ambassadors in the company, right? And maybe the game over here is for them to get everyone to learn about safety awareness. Maybe their game is to get everyone to learn about compliance. Or their game over here could be get everyone to adopt cybersecurity habits and to adopt a sales-driven mindset. Now, these 1% of killers are very motivated, right? They are very competitive, and they can create 80% of the impact that you're trying to drive anyway. So these are some examples of personas, right? I've kind of put it out over here. All right, in the fifth D, right? That will be design your gamification strategy, right? These are more about narratives, about what kind of like a storyline, what type of rewards you should be thinking about, and how do you do your promotion. So some example of storylines that we have seen a lot, space travel storylines. If there's any Star Trek fans or Star Wars fans, right, please raise your hand. I love space storylines. And a space storyline could be something that allows you to travel through space, right? If you're interested in space storyline, we have this particular campaign in the academy. So to go to the academy, right, you can go to gametize.com and search for academy, or you can go to corp.gametize.com. And we have a lot of case studies. Go to resources. And the space storyline that I was talking about is over here. It's a space runner storyline. So this is a very simple campaign where you can actually travel around different planets, different wormholes, black holes, and you're able to learn different things like compliance training. So I'm just going to show you how it looks like over here. Again, this is powered by Gametize as well. And when you enter a storyline, like I think one of the storylines or planets would be the code of conduct. So there's a code of conduct wormhole where you get to answer questions like that. And once you have answered the quizzes over here and completed a challenge, you will be able to earn points. And you can see over here, right, by answering the question, I've earned 20 points. And this is what I call a post-feedback submission message. Now, the post-feedback submission message is a very important one. It allows the users to actually learn something, and it triggers a dopamine rush, right? So these points and this dopamine and this feedback message over here will normally encourage your user to want to learn more and do more. And once they do that, right, they will be interested to look at all the other different types of challenges over here. So you can see over here, this is a challenge just to keep the desk tidy. I think a lot of us have this problem at work. And once you do that, you're able to get a recognition badge over here. So you can see the recognition badge over here is that you have gotten a passport chop and a stamp that you have visited the wormhole. All right, we are almost near to the end of our presentation. So I'm just checking over here, right, to see whether there's any further questions. So narratives can come in the form of space storyline. They can come in the form of a investigative storyline, right? And sometimes you don't even need a storyline. It can just be a very plain vanilla, right? And that's fine, right? Now, this is where we talk about the different visual styles, right? So I shall not spend too much time about that. My only my only emphasis over here is to remind you that whatever achievements that you're giving, just keep in mind that it should be consistent with your company's branding, with your company's narrative, with your storyline. Okay, so if you're interested to know more about the 5D framework, right, feel free to just go to cop.gametimes.com/5D framework. Now, remember that I mentioned that I don't expect all of you to remember 100% of what I've shared today. So it's probably going to be just 1 or 2 slides to remember, 30% of whatever I shared. So if there's only one slide that I need you to remember, that would be this, right? In truth, end of the day, you should be creating something that makes people happy. It makes people feel like they are being recognized. It makes people feel like they're growing. It makes people feel a sense of enjoyment. And that's why they want to grow and develop further. And that means they want to do more of the same thing. And to do that, right, you have to recognize that gamification is not magic. It is a process. You have to do a lot of testing. You have to do a lot of research, right? There's no rules to find. And if you don't do it well, it might just backfire on you. So here are some of the things that I would want to put out here, how not to backfire. Do not give too much rewards. If you give too much rewards, right, people will be doing something because they want to earn something. You should drive the behaviors towards they want to do something because they want to, right? So because they are part of a community. So always drive the community aspects in your gamification campaign. People come back because they want to, not because they have to. Second slide, create real intrinsic motivations, right? Make sure that they're coming back because they like it, they enjoy that. But sometimes we just have to create a real big extrinsic motivation to get them to come in first. But along the way, make sure that you provide a lot of feedback to them so that they know that they are growing and they are developing. Now, make sure that you curate real fun, keep them fresh. Actually, this is quite a regrettable slide. I should change this slide. I don't think it's nice to make fun of old people like that. But uh, you know, this is what I do not want my audience to be doing, right? And I'm sure, right, you should want to avoid that as well in your gamification campaigns. So one of the simplest tricks to ensure that your users are coming back is to have regular scheduled campaign. Just like what Rona is doing, right? She has a lot of different types of webinars to keep people coming back to her Facebook page. Leaderboards are not always good. Keep in mind, killers are just 1% of the leaderboard of your community. So try to avoid creating just competitive mechanics. And at the same time, recognize that sometimes, right, people get demotivated when they are being rated in the leaderboard. Now, this is one of the questions that comes up a lot, right? What if my gamers are cheating? What if my players are cheating in the game? How should I handle that? Always keep in mind that sometimes cheating is a kind of fun. And as long as the end objective is being met, right, cheating is a mechanic sometimes game designers introduce as well. So let me just give you one example. Um, some of you might have been familiar with this game called Contra. Contra is a very old game where you have to key in, on the joystick, up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, select A, B, right? And you get 30 more lives. It's a cheat code that allows you to get more lives to play a game. But game designers introduce this cheat code because they know that not everyone are expert gamers. They want to cater to also lousier players, right? Now, end of the day, right, to me, for example, if you are introducing a game about cybersecurity, for example, it is a game to teach people about cybersecurity habits. If people are cheating and sharing answers with one another for quizzes, end day, as long as everyone is learning, cheating over here is of little relevance, right? In fact, cheating over here has promoted the social sharing. So cheating is not a bad thing. Just make sure that you don't make people feel that it's unfair. Last but not least, avoid creating the Norman's door. I will let you Google what exactly Norman's door is all about. A Norman's door typically is a door that's so frustrating. You do not know whether you should push or pull, right? I think sometimes work feels that way. Enterprise software feels really frustrating to use. Um, E-learning can feel really frustrating as well. And sometimes I look at some e-learning solutions, right? I spend more time trying to figure out how to use the solution than the actual topic itself, right? Now, Professor Norman actually was interviewed. Professor Norman was the one who named the door Norman's door. He was actually interviewed by a magazine. What is the perfect door? In his opinion, the perfect door is a door that you will just walk right through without knowing that it is a door. This to me is the best type of employee experience. You are working without realizing you are working. You are learning something without realizing that you are actually deliberately learning. That is the perfect learning and gamification experience, in my opinion. Okay, so these are just some of my final tips, right? And don't try too hard, create emotions, bring in heroes, get your management on board for all your gamification campaigns. Some of these challenges or rewards, some of these challenges could be issued by them. Some of the rewards could be lunch with the CEO, right? A private mentoring session with the CFO. And I have a toolkit over here that I would like to share that these are some of the ideas and technology that you should be looking at that should help you spend less time, right, creating on games. So it's a very different world we are living in, right? We are surrounded by different tools. Gamification 10 years ago is definitely a lot harder than today, right? It's so much easier to create content and to design some graphics, right? So you can look at tools like Canva. But at the end of the day, right, I just want to remind you that the key crux is to do a lot of testing and to look at examples out there to see how you can copy and steal their ideas. I'll leave you with this final quote by Dr. Stuart Brown. The opposite of play is not work, it is depression. Dr. Stuart Brown started the Institute of Serious Gaming, right? Serious Play Institute, and spent his whole life doing research on why and how to make games more motivating for people's work in their everyday life. All right, while you're still here, right, and I thank you for being still around, right, here are some of my suggestions here, right? Please go to these web resources and the app resources and try out the Gamification 101 games. Now, if you'd like to grab this deck and you have any questions, right, that I'm not able to answer, please just go to academy@gamertides.com, write us an email, we'll send you the deck, right? Better still, tell us a little more about yourself, right? You have to also motivate us to give you the slides as well, right? So in order to motivate us, please share a little bit more how you feel about this session. And by the way, right, it would be great if you could share your feedbacks, right, in using this email as well, right, if you want to get the deck as well. With that, I would like to just end my presentation, right, by giving you this challenge, right? Create your first gamification campaign, right? Don't waste time. Get your hands dirty, right? It is incredibly easy. You can go to gamifies.com. It's free of charge. With that, Rhonda, I would like to hand the mic back to you.
Thank you so much, Keith. I actually learned a lot from that. I've done a gamification, some sort of a gamification platform and framework when I was with Gameloft, the mobile gaming company. So I have some idea, especially with the four different types of killers. I think not killers, the four different types of players. I'm a killer. Although
You're a killer.
it sounds weird whenever I say I'm a killer. Okay, so thank you very much for that. We actually have a few questions. I hope you can answer these questions before we go ahead with our sponsors. So our first question is, what are some of the biggest challenges we can expect when you first get started with designing gamification into our campaigns or processes, and how do we overcome them? You have to understand that gamification is not really a concept that's well known here in the Philippines. It's only now that there are companies understanding or getting to know about these different gaming principles. So if ever someone is going to start a gamification of their process and campaigns, what are the challenges that they might have to be ready for?
Mm-hmm. Um, Getting the management approval, that's for the budget. That is definitely the first challenge that you get. So how do you get a challenge? How do you get the management to align with you? My suggestion is create a prototype, right? Create a prototype and get a small and do some testing, get some ideas out there, and make sure that the prototype is relevant to solving the problem statement. And identify the problem statement very clearly because your management cannot imagine this to be just a fun thing. In fact, one of my customers came to me and said that, Keith, I don't see the need to be acquainted with you because I do not want my employees to have fun at work, right? And I have to explain to him very patiently that end of the day, gamification is not just about making your work playful, but it is about solving a specific problem statement that you have tried many other ways to solve, but you just couldn't solve that. So gamification can have that kind of impact if you do some regular testing, create a prototype, right? So getting management approval, I would say create a prototype, right? There are many other prototypes you can create, but gametimes.com is very easy to use. Um, the other challenge that you will face for sure is you'll be lacking inspirations. You have no idea where to start. So don't try to come up with something entirely new. Copy and steal ideas, right? Look around you, look at the webinars, right? Look at our case studies, look at our template games, right? It's just a one click, two click process. Don't try to do everything from scratch. And the third biggest challenge that I've seen is that um, there's often not enough time, right? Nobody, everyone is busy, right? Why should I be spending time to create games, right? So again, I think it comes back to the question: how serious do you view the problem to be? If this is a serious enough problem, you have to commit to solving it.
Okay, we have a question here from Paul Espinas. He's asking, how do we identify if a team is ready for gamified program?
Mm, wow, this question is not going to be easy to answer because I have to first it'll be a very long textbook answer about psychology theories. But end of the day, right? You don't have to identify it by uh, you don't have to identify it before you start something. Do some testing. You create a very simple game, right? Throw it to the team and ask them how they feel about it. Now, if if you have been following throughout my webinar, right, you will realize that everyone loves playing, right? Everyone has a psychology trigger that makes them want to be rewarded, right? Whether or not you're a killer, whether or not you're a socializer, you are achiever or explorer, right? Something motivates you, right? If you can't be motivated at all, right, you're not ready for anything, right? So the trick is to identify what really motivates your teams, right? And then you use that and create a gamified campaign that works, right? So if your team is motivated not by games, you think that they can't be motivated by storylines, but they may be motivated by peer pressure, then you should create a team-based game, right? To get them to hit their KPIs, right? They could be motivated by actually getting recognized by the management. Then in that case, explain to them that your program over here is to help them prove themselves.
In relation to that, how can we do profiling of our users and understand their motivations better? Do you have any
Mm-hmm.
tips?
Yeah, I think we shared a deck just now about the my player type, right? So we have a sample set of questions uh, that is a personality quiz that you can get people to play, and it will tell them what personality type they have. I must say that it is not academically, there's no academic backing to what we do yet, right? Uh, but that's just one easy approach. But I would say talk to the users, right? That's the easiest way, right? Get a focus group, talk to the users, do a lot of testing, come up with different rewards every month, every week, or even on a 2 to 3 days basis, right? You change the rewards and see what people respond to the most, right? Um, get your gamers, get your users involved in the game design. Get the 1 or 2 focus users and say that, hey, we would like you to join the game design team, right? Tell us more about your colleagues. Tell us more about your team.
So it's more of a continuous checking, fine tuning, application checking, fine tuning application.
Exactly. It's exactly like building a startup. It's a lean startup methodology. You have to do a lot of testing. You have to make a lot of changes along the way and make sure that there are small little incremental changes so that people don't feel like it's a completely different campaign every month, right? They will get sick and tired of that. But make the changes with a lot of subtlety.
Okay. From Joham Sao, she's asking how gamification can help you as an HR practitioner.
So Johan, right? I think the key question over here is you have to think about what are the problem statements, right? You want to solve, right? Now, gamification can can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes I see some people implement that just because they think it's fun, right? As long as you're focused on solving a problem, right? Personally, right, in game ties, maybe you can help me type this link out, joinus.gametize.com, right? So this is a gamified, I will type it in the private link for you, Rona.
Okay.
So we are personally using this, creating a game for recruitment, right? And I want to talk about this particular case study because we use our own platform to make the process of joining our company fun uh, and engaging because we think that job application is it can be very intimidating and very stressful, right? I think a lot of us are doing that, and we want to make the whole process a lot easier. But the problem that we try to solve over here is that we are tired of having mismatch of candidates, right? So by actually playing the game, right, they will actually learn about the company really well, right? By playing the game, they will actually be able to share some information about themselves in a very fun and easy way. For example, we ask them like, if there's one person in the world that you would love to meet dead or alive, who would that be? In truth, we don't really care about the answer, but it allows us to learn more about the person that way, right? So um, we have the downside of this is that there's going to be a much lesser pool of candidates going through, right? For sure, we have actually had candidates that play the game halfway, and they just stop playing the game, right? They did not finish the game, and this is exactly what we needed. Because how many times have you, Rona, right, met a job candidate and they come into the interview and they have not done any research on your company? It is
Yeah.
frustrating as a hirer, right? So this game makes sure that they do it in an engaging way. So Johan, that's one example of how gamification can help you as a HR practitioner. There are many other ways, right? By, for example, safety training, right, onboarding, pre-onboarding, even when somebody left the company on the last day, you could make it a game as well, right? Make sure that they have completed all the different checklists of things that they should be doing, and it allows someone to leave the company on a very goodwill and have a very nice vibes about the last day as well. So there are many ways to make it work for you.
Yeah, now that you've mentioned it, we can actually do the gamification in the exit interviews or the exit process. Not many
Totally.
people think about that. But you're correct. It's actually a good way of making the exit process a positive experience instead of something that's really heavy
Yeah.
and very serious for the employees leaving the company. So it's
For
actually a
example,
good
one challenge could be leave us a positive review on Glassdoor, then you get 50 points.
yeah, yeah. Correct, correct. Fernando Bellarmine is asking, can gamification be part of an ISO certification or CMMI certification?
Hmm. Fernando, that would be my dream, and that would be I would die happy when that happens. And I really believe that eventually one day there will be something called the CGO, Chief Gamification Officer, right? Eventually it will become a process-driven strategy for many companies. We have really seen that happening in many major enterprises in Singapore. And in Singapore is headquarters to many MNCs around the region, right? And we have been adopted to drive cybersecurity behaviors. We have been adopted to drive career coaching and career mentoring. We are seeing a lot of new use cases every single day. So Maybe one day that will happen. As of today, right, I would say if you want to go for ISO certification, you should call that a tracking system that you're implementing. Yeah.
And then Paul is asking another question. What are the common metrics for HR or teams measured to gauge the success of the gamified program? So
Mhm.
what are the common metrics that you need to look into to say that the program is actually a success?
Am I able to share my screen real quick?
Okay.
I'll, I'll just do that real quick. Just give me a second. So there's just one quick deck I want to present. Okay, I'm sharing the screen right now, right? Paul, so if you recall that just now I presented the 5D framework, right? So you can actually access that going to corp.gametest.com/scorecard. So you notice that in our 5D framework, right, once you define the problem, you will determine the goals. Now, when you determine the goals, you will see that this is all exactly matched to your problem statement over here. So this is actually how you define the goals. And in fact, that's actually the reason why we strongly encourage every participant, every gamification designer to always implement this 5D scorecard, right? Whether or not you're doing on pen and paper or some Google Slides, right? You will determine the matrix over here per se.
Okay, and Fernando is back with what are the cases or scenarios where gamification has failed and who are the stakeholders who are responsible for the success or failure of the gamification in the company?
Mm-hmm. Um, Typically, what I see are the most common reasons why gamification fails, right, is when the stakeholder from the get-go assumes that fun is the key objective over here. That will be a clear red flag, right? If you just want trying to create something for fun, I can share with you everyone's perception of fun is different. What is fun for you, Rana, is different for many people, right? For you, fun is killing people in the games, right? You're competitive. For some others, like my mom, she just want to collaborate. She just want to relax. So that is a red flag, right? In some other cases, right, they did not determine their problem statements carefully. They did not do their profiling of players. They assume that the players are competitive. They create a game uh, that, uh, that is competitive when their players are actually collaborative. They're socializers, right? Um, in one other case, I noticed they were trying to create a game for everyone in the company, 100%. That is not possible. It's not possible to expect to try to create all a game that all 100% of the gamers wants to play, right? Or 100% of the users want to participate. Instead, sometimes it's better to focus on two or three smaller groups, and sometimes it's better to create a game for just one group and another game for the other group with different rewards as well. For example, I'm interested to meet Jack Ma from Alibaba.com, right? If I purchase and spam on Facebook about Jack Ma and Alibaba every day, eventually that will get me the reward. But for some other people, right, this doesn't interest them. They just are not interested in meeting Jack Ma. They just want to get on with their daily life. So, whose stakeholders are critical for success? I'm thinking your question was about what are the major point of contact. That would be the person that is a project manager, either on Gametype side or on the client side, right? And this project manager should be spending a lot of time. It should be a full timer as well, right? And be completely invested to know that the success of this campaign will contribute to their enjoyment as well.
Okay, and then we have Penny Lane. Penny Lane is asking, so gamification will make the HR process fun and easy, not jeopardizing the traditional practice of careful and critical processes. I think it can actually go both way. It can go side by side, the fun and easy part, and as well as the careful and critical process. When you do gamification, you don't necessarily remove all the other needed aspects of the job, like for example, documentations and the step by step procedure. It doesn't go away. You just inject some game principles to make it about to inject some sort of fun and make it less formal than it's what perceived to be. What do you think, Keith?
Um, so I think that's a very great point. And that's by the way, so far the questions have been fantastic, right? So thank you. I would like to thank the audience. Um, so gamification should not make something easy. Like that's already important and critical, right? However, having a gamification mindset can help you rethink what are the things that truly matter. Because when we play games, right, do they make you do all the useless things that do they make you do very complex procedures, right? They're trying to make it very as simple as possible for you to get motivated to want to do more, right? So having that kind of gamification mindset will get HR professionals to rethink, do we really need to do all these things? Are we frustrating our users to the point where they don't enjoy their work anymore? Maybe it's a chance for us to redesign along with implementing a gamification process. So I would say that it doesn't make the process itself easier, but it should make you think twice about your existing process. And so please keep the careful and critical processes, right? But uh, if they are if your users are spending too much time, then maybe it's time to rethink them.
Okay. Fernandez asking, what about the senior managers or people in the companies who have been tenured for the longest time? Can they be part of gamification? So those who are in the company for 10 years, the boomers in the group, can they still be part of gamification?
Um, so you know, my textbook answer is that gamification is for everybody because I sincerely believe that there's there's an aspect of everyone who likes to play in one way or another, right? For some people, like a sales job is not a game, but it is fun for them. It is exciting for them, right? But in truth, right, definitely, right, there are some people that are completely just impossible to motivate in life, right? There's just nothing. They just want to get on with their daily life. They could be, like we say, some of the very senior executives that, you know, they just come to work on a daily basis. Now, this is where you should then focus on the other users, the other stakeholders in the company. So remember when I talk about that 1% of the killers, maybe their game over there is to engage these senior managers. Their game over there is to get these senior managers to play the game. Or their game over there is to get these senior managers to, to learn about their compliance. So even though these senior managers do not need to play the game, right? But they're still part of the process because they become part of the challenge for the gamers to actually earn points by interacting with them. So I think it's a win-win situation, right? Senior managers still feel like they're part of the process, they're not left out, right? That if they're not interested in the reward, that's fine, right? But you're still in the game. So that's one idea that I can think of.
So in essence, these are your non-playing characters whenever you're really playing a game.
Yeah, but they're the non-playing characters. Hey, I can see that game expertise in you.
Okay, so we have Jane asking here, what type of reward have you found most successful?
Mm. I haven't found a common type of rewards that really appeals that I would say everyone should implement. But I would say that you really have to talk to your focus users and sometimes be creative as well and think of something that I think typically what money can buy definitely is going to be most precious, right? And the other type of rewards that I think that could be important is that when your users do not know that these rewards are coming up, then they might be more incentivized and motivated to stay in the game. So typically every single day they will be wondering what type of rewards is coming tomorrow, right? So that's the element of surprise. So to long story short, right, rewards that money can buy, especially like for example like lunch with Rona, right? Or the personal coaching session with Rona, right? And the other one could be rewards that people do not know, but they're anticipating it. So I'll call them the serendipitous rewards, right? So these are the two types of rewards that I will find most appealing. Great question, Jane.
I think I'll take this one. Can gamification work with the government, especially here in the Philippines? I have heard of agile process, design thinking, and systems thinking. Can all of this be integrated with gamification? With your first answer, I think we're still a long way on getting gamification as part of the government processes procedures. We're still a long way from that. But given the current situation, I am seeing that the government is more and more embracing the importance of digitizing things. So I think in a few years, hopefully, I think the government would be able to get the gamification or the game principles. They would learn how to have that adapted or applied to their processes. But right now, with the current setup, I don't think it's possible. In the next few years, probably, but not right
And I
now.
think the trick is
Go
to come
ahead.
up with small little pilots, right? They test on a very, very small problem statement, right? So sometimes it has to be initiated by the one champion, super passionate advocate. We call them the killers, right? In the gamification world, right? They might be creating the 80% of impact, but you have to start off with that one small use case for people to progress step by step.
I think you can take this one. Is it possible to integrate agile process, design thinking, systems thinking? Is it possible to have all of this integrated in gamification?
Absolutely. So just now, the 5D framework, right? We, we, we show that in just one direction, but in truth, what it does is it just go back and forth, right? You have to define the problem statement, determine the goals, do your profile, decide the target emotions and behaviors. Fourth one would be describing the players, and fifth one is do your design. And sometimes it goes from number one to number five. Sometimes it goes from number five back to three, four, five. It's it's a non-ending process. It's a vicious. It's not a vicious loop. It's just a recursive loop that goes back and forth. So in fact, design thinking is a very big aspect of gamification.
Okay, so we have here, I think this one is from Miss Shelo Supersticioso. She's asking, what role does gamification as a pedagogical innovation play in the future of education?
Hmm. So I think there's been a lot of huge movements in e-learning over the last few years. Um, I think one of the biggest movement is that people are starting to realize that LMS are just not effective at all. Learning management systems are not effective for actually delivering training at all, right? And it, what really matters to a lot of people when they do learning is that they are actually doing it on the job. When they do it on the job, they learn something, right? That's where actually the bulk of the training happens. The other challenge of LMS is that they're just way too mundane, right? It's way too structured. So that's where gamification comes in, right? Gamification can be implemented as a way to get people to understand that learning is not just about reading, watching webinars. It's also about you practicing it, you talking about it. One of the reasons why I agreed, Rona, to give this talk is that I can learn a lot when I give talks as well. I'm actually learning and refreshing my memory, right? It gives me new ideas, right? And that's the kind of like spirit that gamification drives. It's about you actually doing real actionables. So in my opinion, right, that's one aspect. The second way how gamification can drive education is that gamification emphasizes on community building, right? So you should be learning together as a community. You should be learning from each other hand in hand. You should be learning when you have one-on-one conversations with your mentors and getting rewarded and recognized by that. You're not just recognizing the learner, you should be recognizing the trainer. You should be recognizing the mentor as well, right? The coach wants to be also earning points whenever I'm also having my one-on-one reflection. So learning is not just online, right? That's also offline learning. And that's what gamification does, right? When you do an offline mentoring, right, you are actually tracking it, sharing the takeaways, and summarizing that on a gamification platform.
Okay. Sean Austria is asking, is the average gamer is around 35 years old? How can we get management to approve this when top management is usually 55 to 60 years old and mostly non-gamers?
Mm. Well, that's a difficult question from John, but I will share with you that my mom is 65, right? She's the most compulsive gamer I know in my life right now, right? So I think the trick is that you really have to understand, do the pilot testing, right? And of course, there are some changes you need to create in your game, right? Make the game relevant to them, right? I remember like there's one particular game where we were targeting at all the C levels. We're talking about 40 to 70 years old management. They were using our platform in a in an offsite retreat, and I recall, right, the reason why they were so motivated is because some of the challenges actually very familiar to them, right? It requires them to take a selfie with one another, catch up on the past year because they only meet each other once a year, right? That's why the challenges are all very, very relevant to them. The gameplay is definitely you have to make it a lot simpler, right? Please don't make it like an extremely difficult game, right? They are not interested in the points; they are interested in the collaboration, right? So this is one stereotype I can make right away about more mature audience. They are interested in the socializing community aspect. And last but not least, make sure the rewards are relevant to them, right? They would not be interested in free jackets. They would not be interested in free, cups and mugs, right? I remember one of the players even sponsored, 100-year-old or 50-year-old wine that's been vintage in the reward store, right? And in the end, right, everyone is just having fun over there. And of course, the content in the game was very relevant to them, right? They were really interested to learn about the latest trend in technology. That's why we created very bite-sized content that allows them to interact and learn from each other.
Okay, we have here another question. Is it possible to design a gamification campaign without any prizes or points?
Yes, that is definitely possible, right? Um, End of the day, right? It is possible to drive people based on just intrinsic motivation and recognition. So it's just kind of like um, I can't I can't think of any games off my head right now, but I can share with you, like for example, um, Red Cross donation drive. Now that is not the game, right? And when you donate blood, right? Sometimes they'll give stickers. I actually have a sticker. Just give me a quick second. I'll bring a sticker over.
So for those who are with us right now, comment your section, comment your questions below so that we can discuss it. Okay?
Yep, that's the sticker that I got, right, when I donated blood in Red Cross. Now, actually, I got the sticker first, and then they decided that I'm not suitable to draw any blood for the day. But I kept the sticker anyway, right? This is on my access card to office. So you can see these are simple gamification mechanics, right, to show appreciation and recognition. The funny thing about uh, blood donation, Red Cross, is that when they started actually giving money to people for donating blood, the blood donation drive actually went down. So this is economics for you, right? So if anything, it proves that, right, sometimes extrinsic motivation can have the adverse and reverse effect as well. So do always keep in mind, right? You don't have to introduce gamification in everything, right? If something is working well, give it as it is.
Okay. I think this is our last question for now from Ellen Gonzalez. Incentive well and people will cheat. Is it okay to cheat?
Mm-hmm. It is not okay to cheat. That's my short answer. uh, But if you are, if your gamers are, if your players are cheating against what you, and it does not solve your problem statement, then I think definitely it cannot allow that to happen, right? It will demotivate the other players. Now, what's interesting is that if you are creating a game where people are cheating and learning and sharing answers, right, about maybe compliance, then I think it is fine to cheat. But of course, I think in the grand scheme of things, right, you have to just uh, remind them that if you're cheating, right, this is not lacking integrity if you do that. So do remind your target audience about that all the time. I've seen customers that actually implement punishments for their players who are actually cheating. So there was this customer that actually has a team actually hacking into another team's account in order to get more points by voting on their own submissions. They were brought up to the disciplinary board as well, and the price was very attractive. It was an iPad. They were giving iPads to the entire team.
Wow. Okay. I think I missed this one. So last two questions from Robert Rivivar. Assuming gamification was approved by the management, will it then be included in the ISO process audits? I think, as far as I'm concerned, it will be included if you have the documentation for this one. So, of course, if you need the approval of the management, you will have to come up with the documentation. If you have that, and if you're an ISO certified company, you have to make sure that you have that. You have to document all of the processes. It will
Hmm.
be included in the audit. And then Fernando is asking, aside from financial incentives, what other kinds or rewards or prizes should I give my students? He's trying to apply gamification in the school setup. Is it okay to ask for sponsorship for companies?
Hmm. I was thinking, like, you really have to think about what the students want, right? They may be interested in career opportunities. They may be interested in internships. They may be interested in a chance to get interviewed or networking events, right? So as long as you figure that question out, right, I am confident that you will be able to find rewards that money cannot buy.
Okay, I think we already have discussed all of the questions. Any last words, Keith, that you would like to give to our audience right now before I go ahead with the thanking of our sponsors?
Yes, I think Roland is going to show you some demo videos on how you can create games from game ties, right? Of course, we are not the only platform, but I'm sure we are the simplest to use solution for you to create your games. Now, the thing is really, right, I think there are some great questions here today, right? But the key to actually figuring out gamification is to get your hands dirty, right? So just go ahead, right? Dive right in, do some sample testing, um, get a conversation started with your management that this is not really just about fun. It's about motivating target behaviors, and it's the same for all businesses, right? You have to target certain behaviors in order to solve certain problems, right? So as long as the right behaviors are being motivated and incentivized, right? Uh, Always remember that it has to be driven towards intrinsic motivation end of the day through your own narrative, through your own storytelling, right, and reminders from the community. So we have seen so many campaigns that started off with giving amazing prizes, right? Come in, you get a free phone. Come in, you get a free jacket, right? And later on, it became a community where people are just coming in because their friends are in there. People are just coming in because they realize it is beneficial to themselves. So keep that in mind, and you should be in good hands.
Thank you so much, Keith. So, for those who are still watching with us, I'll be giving the instructions on how you can get your certificate. But for now, let's watch this video from one of our sponsors, Move Up. Ayan, thank you so much for that one. Also, for those who are asking about the certificates, the time has come para sa ating discussion ng certificate. Ayan po. So before anything else, I would just like to invite you to our HR Bootcamp Batch 14. It's happening on December 4 and 5. If you missed the chance to be part of HR Bootcamp Batch 13, we have HR Bootcamp Batch 14. And tulad po noong Batch 13, you get Food Panda vouchers if you are part of batch 14, and as soon as you have submitted any assignments that will be given to you during the HR bootcamp. Ayan po. Aside from that, I would also like to invite everyone to visit our YouTube channel. So if you are looking for past free webinars, or if you're looking for past episodes of HR Bites, we discuss a lot of HR matters there. You can visit our YouTube channel. You just take out your phone, take a quick scan the QR code, and you would be redirected to our YouTube channel. Ayan po. Inviting also everyone to attend our Basics of Succession Planning. This one is happening on November 6th. Please head to the link indicated here. You can also scan the QR code if you are interested in getting to know more about how to do succession planning. I'm hoping everyone is okay right now. If you're planning on going out, medyo kalma-kalma po tayo dahil meron pong paparating na bagyo at medyo may kalakasan daw po yung bagyo. So ingat po tayo if you're going out, Okay? Also, we would like to invite everyone. November 7 naman po, if you have basics of succession planning on November 6. November 7, we have from staff to supervisor, how to lead. It's a leadership training for those who have just moved from being a staff to a supervisor. So if you have members who are becoming supervisors within the next few months, or you have promoted members just recently, they can undergo this webinar and we'll teach them the basics when it comes to leadership and management. Ayan po. Labor relations and labor cases is also back. This one is happening on November 11. If you would like to be more familiar with the different clauses in the labor code, yung mga pinaka-importante po sa atin bilang HR, we will be discussing that on November 11. This is happening from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Ayan po. If you want to be a sponsor, just let us know and we will be sending you the packages on how you can be a sponsor. Ayan po, para kung gusto niyo pong tumulong para naman po sa ikabubuhay ng Uprash. At ang aking pong mga guests ay, Diyos ko naman po, kinakabahan talaga ako. International naman, na naman po, muntik nang maubos ang English. Ayan. So, yaan po, pag interesado po kayo na maging sponsor po ng Uprash, sabihan nyo lang po kami, just email us at support@readyrightnow.com and we will send you the packages that we have. We actually have a couple of videos from Gametize which we would be sharing with you doon sa ating comment section po. Pwede nyo po yung puntahan. It actually has an explanation on how you can create your own Gametize program. So kung kayo po ay nagbabalak na magkaroon ng gamification project, you can use that one. Go through that in order for you to understand how you can come up with your own game or gamification program. Aside from that, the Gametize website also has a lot of case studies, testimonials, demos, templates, tips, and tricks if you would want to become or would want to get your HR processes and procedures gametized. O, diba? Naisingit ko siya. Okay. So aside from that po, gusto ko lang pong pasalamatan ng isa pa po sa ating mga sponsor. Let's watch this video. Ayan, so if you are interested po in coming up with your own web hosting, domain name, online presence, we can also help you with that through our partner, Social Geekers. Aside from that po, syempre po, pasensya na kayo kung baliktad. Dapat kanina natin to na-discuss, but Keith has a very limited time. So kailangan muna nating unahin yung kanyang talk. We would also like to seek the help of those with gining to ang puso. Ayan, sa mga gusto pong mag-donate po para po kay Andre. He's on remission right now, but of course, he would still need a lot of medication. I've flashed here the numbers where you can send in your financial help or kung gusto ng moral support lang po, andyan din po yung numbers. You can send in a quick message for Andre and his family. One of our team members also is in need, her Monica Nalda. So if you're a regular here, you would know that she's the one sending out the certificates. Her father passed away last September 1. But they still have a lot of hospital bills to settle kasi ang COVID ay hindi po talaga siya mura at napakasakit po talaga niya sa bulsa. So if you can have or if you would like to provide any financial support or moral support, andito po ang kanyang BPI account number as well as GCash and Globe mobile number. You can get in touch with her if you would like to provide any type of support po. So hindi pa po nagla-like ng page namin, like naman po para naman po tulong niyo na po ito para sa aming patuloy na pagbibigay ng free webinars. How can you help Uprash consistently provide you with quality free webinars? Number 1, you can do watch parties whenever we have the free webinars. Number 2, get people to join our Facebook group, Society for the Advancement of HR in the Philippines. Number 3, get people to or like our page Like na rin po kayo. So it's facebook.com/uprushcontent. Number 4, if you would want to provide monetary support, welcome din po. Be one of our sponsors, or if you don't want to be a sponsor but you would like to give any amount, head to our YouTube channel. May link po doon where you can send your donation. Ayan po. Gagamitin po natin yan para sa patuloy na pag-ano po natin, pagkakaroon po natin ng ating mga webinars. Okay? So again, yung mga interested po with the Gametize platform, we will send you, it's actually on the comment section na yung email address ng Gametize Plus, yung link ng Gametize. Keith has also indicated in the comment section on our page his LinkedIn link. So if you would like to get in touch with him and you would like to know more about gamification, you can reach out to him po. Okay? Ito na pong pinaka iniintay ng lahat. If you would like to request for slides, video, and certificate of attendance, head lang po kayo dito sa link na ito. You can take out your phone, use your QR code in order to scan the QR code here right now para kayo po ay makahingi ng inyong certificate of attendance and the video and the copy of the video. Now, for the slides, as mentioned by Keith earlier, you have to email them to request for a copy of the slides. So we have already posted the email address on the comment section. If you are interested in getting a copy of the slides, you have to email Gametize directly. But for the certificate, we will be the one to provide that to you. At tulad po ng dati, uulitin ko lang po, 5 to 7 working days. Ang working days po ng Uprush ay Mondays to Fridays, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. lang po. So bilang po kayo ng 5 to 7 working days starting on Tuesday dahil wala po tayong pasok on Monday. Para malaman nyo po kung kailan kayo po pwedeng mag-start na mag-expect ng certificate of attendance. Make sure po that your name and email address is inputted correctly kasi po ang dami namin nakukuha na merong mali yung spelling ng email address. So nagba-bounce back siya. So please make sure po na tama po ang inyong email address at ang inyong nakalagay na pangalan pag kayo po ay nag-fill out ng form. We would be posting the link also in the comment section in the next few hours, and we would also be putting the link doon po sa ating event page po. How about the last one po? Wala pa at di pa po ba tapos? 5 working days po. So ang start po niyaan ay sa Tuesday pa po kasi Monday or Friday. So nag-start lang siya kahapon. Ano bang araw ngayon? Nag-start na pa siya tama. Nung Friday po siya nag-start na mag-send ng mga certificates. So Monday up to Tuesday of next week niyo po yan may expect. 5 to 7 working days po. Hindi po yan within 5 to 7 working days. After 5 to 7 working days po, bago po namin maibigay yung certificate. Okay? So, pwede na po, kung wala pa po kayo na-receive ngayon, dahil kahapon po nag-start si Monica ng pagsisend, most likely po by Tuesday kayo makaka-receive ng inyong certificate. Tuesday, Wednesday po kayo makaka-receive ng certificate nyo. Okay? Yan po. Now, we would like to implore everyone, we are providing the free webinars and you can easily get the certificate without having to go through the exam or anything else. However, we have been noticing lately that some are not actually attending the webinars and are just asking for the certificate. We would like to implore everyone to go through the webinar before asking for the certificate. Kasi pag ano po, kawawa naman po yung mga talagang pinanood yung buong video at inintindi talaga. The webinar is to provide information, to give you the latest on HR. So sayang naman po kung hindi nyo po siya ma-enjoy. Okay? 7 days na po mula po nung HR gig, economy free webinar po. Ma'am, ang 7 days po ay sa Tuesday pa po. Kasi tayo po ay 24 po yon, ang start ng bilang natin ay 26. So, October 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 po yung ika-5th day. Dahil wala pong pasok ng Tuesday. November 3 po yung 6th day. November 4 po ang 7th day. Okay? So, wala pa po tayong 7 days. Okay? 5 to 7 working days po. Ha? Yun po. Huwag po nating anahin. Huwag po nating kakalimutan. Saan po yung link, ma'am? Isisend po namin sa inyo. Kanina, spinlash ko na po sa screen yung link. So, kung hindi nyo po yung nakita, mamaya po ipopost din po namin yung link sa comment section at saka doon sa ating event page. So as much as possible po, we implore everyone to go through the webinar bago po kayo humingi ng certificate. Kasi pag sayang naman kung hindi niyo talaga natutunan or wala kayong hindi niyo nabasa at humingi lang kayo ng certificate. Sayang naman yung effort ng ating mga speakers at sayang din naman yung effort ng mga team members ng Uprush in looking for yung ating mga speakers, paghahanap sa kanila. So please make sure po that you really go through the webinar before requesting for a certificate. We are trying to make this as easy as possible for you to get your certificate because we know that some of your students, but also please make sure that you go through it para talagang meron kayong makuha sa kanya. Okay? So yun po, kung wala na po tayong mga isi-send po namin, yung nagtatanong po kung saan makukuha yung link, isi-send po namin mamaya. Kalma po, ilalagay po namin sa comment section. Kanina ko pa sinasabi, sasakaling na kita. Ilalagay po namin sa comment section yung link for the request. Okay? Tapos ilalagay din po namin dun sa events page mamaya yung link for the request. So kung hindi nyo po inabutan, yung QR code, ilalagay po namin yan maya-maya doon sa events page at saka doon sa comment section para doon po kayo pwedeng mag-fill out. Okay? I see the Gamitize website. How about the email? Where can we request Keith for the copy of slides? Baka natabunan na po siya, but the email address is academy@gamitize.com. Okay? Doon niyo po siya, doon po kayo po pwedeng mag-request. So, academy@gamitize.com. Academy@gamitize.com. Ayan po, lalagay din po natin doon sa ating comment section para naman po pwede niyo pong i-copy-paste na lang siya. Okay? Yan po. Doon sa mga magre-request po ng copy ng slides. Okay? Yung mga magre-request po ng copy ng certificate at ng recording, bibigay po namin mamaya yung link doon sa ating comment section at doon po sa ating events page. Okay po. Ayan. So kung wala na pong questions, I hope nasagot po namin lahat ng mga questions nyo kanina tungkol sa gamification. Gamification is a very light way of handling yung ating mga HR processes. Na actually kanina nag-comment si Sir Fernando Bellarmino, hindi ko na lang binasa pero ramdam ko yung bigat ng loob niya sa hirap ng pagiging teacher sa mga sa ganitong panahon. Huwag po kayo mag-alala, Sir Fernando. Ako po ay mataas po ang pagrespeto ko sa mga teacher dahil hanga ako sa ginagawa niyo, lalo na sa panahon ngayon. If you're trying to input or to use gamification principles to get your students more engaged, naku, napakagandang project po niyan. Okay? And we hope that you become successful in getting that gamification program implemented in your school. Ayan po. Sa mga nagtatanong po or kailangan ng tulong on how they can create their own gamification program, you can reach out to Keith using his link on LinkedIn. Nakalagay po sa comment section natin. Or you can also email him at academy@gamitize.com. Kung nahihiya po kay Keith, pwede rin po kayong mag-email sa amin, support@readyrightnow.com. Pwede ko po kayong tulungan. I also do gamification. I was the one who created the gamification program for Game Law. Pride ko yun. Pero may katulong po ako doon. Hindi po ako mag-isa doon. I have people working with me who help me with the platform. So just let us know how we can help you. Okay po? So maraming salamat po lahat sa inyo for staying with us this Saturday afternoon. Please stay safe po. Mag-charge po ng battery ng mga cellphone. Bumili na po ng batteries para sa mga flashlight, kandila, at mag-ingat po tayo kung hindi naman po kailangan lumabas, huwag na po masyadong lumabas dahil medyo may kalakasan daw po yung paparating na bagyo. So for those na nasa bahay po nila, stay safe po. Yung mga nasa labas, uwi na po, stay safe din po. Okay? And thank you everyone again for joining us. Okay po? Bye everyone!